Well, hello, YouTubers. I been loading up some 5.56 on the Progressive here, and I figured I'd show you guys how easy it is to change back over from rifle to a pistol. I'm going to change back over to 9mm. It's pretty easy on the Loadmaster. One of the first things I do is I go ahead and pop the powder measure off, just so it ain't flopping around or anything. Now this is, I don't have to set dies up. I just got to swap heads out with 223. I hand feed the brass out of a bin. With 9mm, I use the case feeder. So the easiest way for me to do it, pop that loose, and I get the head out of the way. That simple. Change that out, and while it's all open, I go ahead, pull my plate out. Sometimes this can be kind of a pain in the butt. You pop that out. I also change this here. My 9mm plate is more broke in, so I have to turn this in farther so the driving pin pushes in farther, lock it in tighter. And when you buy these presses, you get two. You get a white one and a gray one. And the gray one seems to be looser when it's out farther, so you screw it in farther, which keeps this from going in as far. When it's pushed in, the farther you're in here on the threads, the closer or farther out the ram is. And with the new plate, it's tighter. I don't know if it's these things are worn in more on the 9mm, but it's got to be pushed in farther to stay tight. And with the 223, it doesn't have to be pushed in as far. So I use the one that screws in farther. And with the 9mm, this one is tighter out farther on the threads. So I use this one for 9 because I got to have it out farther. If you understood that. If not, comment me and I'll try to explain it a little better. But I take my ejector off, shell ejector, and I keep the O-ring on it. Then you just push that out of the way. Now when you push that back, a primer is going to come out. I pull the plate off, set it over here, and you pull that arm out of the way. I use the same small primer assembly. Come on, pop out of there. Oh, I'm gonna have it. But I have to get the small rifle primers out of it. That gets set off to the side. And while I have it out, I just do a quick cleanup inside of it. Last thing you want is anything messing with a Loadmaster priming system. And I just kind of clean it up a little bit, make sure there's no brass particles or anything in there. I mean, you do See, it does have some junk in there. Make sure that's cleaned up. Not bad. Then you can put this back in. And I do have a slight piece of tape on this side to keep it pushed over. Seems to work better. Doesn't that's why it's kind of hard to get in and out, but it doesn't wiggle as much. And I found out that the whole shaking to keep the primers down in it, I mean, works great to keep the primers in it, but it'll shake down here and get the primer that this is feeding out of whack a little bit, and then it doesn't want to go in and so forth. So I put a piece of tape back there to keep it lined up better, and so it don't wiggle as much. It still wiggles. And with the new ones, they have a different feeder here, primer catch. But if you have an old one, you just take a razor blade and trim the sharp corners here. The primers feed right down, real easy. Get my primers back in the tray, get them out of the way. I'm horrible at spilling primers. Then after that's on, or taken out, you can throw on, I'm loading 9mm, so that's a 19S. Push that arm back, make sure your primer is working good. Push that sucker back up in there. I go ahead and push them all kind of up in there. And then you can slip this stuff back on. And this little nut, I do not keep it very tight. And then this, I keep pretty lubed up. You see, I've used this quite a bit, and it is starting to get a groove cut into it. Eventually, I suppose I'm going to have to get a new one of them. It seems to still be working just fine. I always stick that in a little bit to hold it so I can screw this on. Maybe I'll get a couple of those so I don't have to keep changing this. I can just swap them out. And you want to check here that this being pushed in determines how tight that is. Too tight and it doesn't want to cycle. See? It's too tight. So you, oh wait, no, I'm backing out. You gotta, too tight, you want to pull it in. There's a little bit of play. Too much play. See that? stiff here. There she goes. For some reason, you always got to kind of get it worked back in, get that nut right in the right place. Okay, now that's way too loose. You want to back it out. See how nice, it's nice and tight now. Nice and tight. That's how you adjust your timing. And then there's a down here you adjust the head for the timing too. Once you get it all figured out, these actually work pretty good. Okay, now that's done. Then you want to put this on. You basically want to get it slid on there, lift it up, click it into place just like that. I already have this adjusted, so as long as I have the straight edge there, it's pretty good. This here paired straight across, you don't want it tilting either way. And just snug it up. And I usually put a piece of brass in there, see if it goes in good, and it does. For some reason when I do 223, I have to readjust my seating depth, so I might have to adjust that a little bit because it might push this in too far for some reason. Then this, I try to keep that nut where it belongs. Doesn't always work out that way. So, and this is for 9mm. The difference, should have showed you, the difference in them is like for 40 and 45, this is taken out, and then for rifle, which I have one but I don't use it because I don't like it, this isn't sticking out so far, it's shoved way up in there for the longer brass. The rifle, you see on the internet people do all kinds of stuff to get the rifle one to work. I don't worry about it, I just feed them in by hand. You want to get that silver piece lined up right over your shuttle, but you don't want it to hit any of this. And you snug that up. Then I usually just drop a piece of brass, see where it goes. See how well it feeds in. Works pretty good. Oh, and throw it on the floor. That's how that works. And then for this, it's quite simple. Clicks down in there. Make sure you got her lined up. I have got it in the wrong in the wrong notch, and had to replace it. It was off just a little, and had to replace a capping pin. And how I do it is, after I get it lined up, I push up on it all the way so the head goes into the top locking position. Then I tighten that, and it does loosen up. So I just do a little snug with a pair of pliers. Then I don't have any problems with it coming out loose. Then I screw, well, first I take this cap out so I don't use, I screw this in so I don't lose my flaring pin, and then I just screw it back onto the universal powder through die for a rifle. Slip it in there. Screw it back in. Make sure she's tight. Then I change my powder measure. One good thing about these Lee powder drums, you can buy all kinds of these inserts for rifle and pistol. Note to know, the rifle drum screwed all the way in is too much powder for a 223. It will screw it all the way in, taking the lowest amount of powder it can dispense, and it will pour over that case, and you will have a huge mess. So you just use a pistol one. Then I put in, I'm going to be loading up Hoshin 231, 4.3 grains. This is already set. Slip it in there. And tighten it back up. Kind of wiggle it around a little bit, make sure that you get it seated and not in there cross. It works best. It seems a little tight right here, but it works fine there. And you just do a little bit of adjusting, and you should be good to go. Primers, Magnum, small pistol. Get some primers in there, and let's see if I have to adjust my primer. Get them shaken up. Oops. There's always one that doesn't want to go. There we go. Just put a few in there. I put my thumb over it. Slip it in. See how easy they flow in there when you got them little notches cut out? And then let's put some brass in there. And of course I dropped one. Let's see how far off the primers are. Now see, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Come on, focus. But it smushed it just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not. There's a little edge right up here. But honestly, that ain't real bad. I'd rather smush it just a hair than not put it in far enough. Let's see what it does with this one. Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'm actually quite pleased with that. And it's that simple. Resetting up the Loadmaster is really easy. And if you were just doing a pistol caliber change, like from a 380 to a 9mm, you won't have to take all this stuff off. You just take the plate off, change your dies out, and you're back up and running again. So it's quite simple. There's a lot of them that are a lot more complicated. The presses, they just seem to get better and better as time goes on. I've owned this quite a while, and I hear that the newer ones are even more smooth, more attention to detail. So, you know, for the money that you pay for them, you know, I know you hear that a lot, but for pistol, honestly, I mean, I don't see why anyone would want to spend $1,500 on a press when this will do every bit of good as what they do, and you get everything but the bolt feeder, and the bolt feeder ain't that expensive. But I've got the bolt feeder for it, and I'd rather stick them in one at a time anyway. But that's just my preference. But I figured I was changing over, and I'd show you what it took to change over. Have a good day. If you like the video, thumbs it up. Thanks.